Hey Ottawa, this is your Monday Market Snapshot for the Ottawa Real Estate Market for August 28th, 2023. We're nearing the very end of the month for August, and so I'll give you a little bit of insights as to what I'm expecting to see in our month end stats, which will come out next week. And my name is Annalee Rice. I'm a realtor here in Ottawa with Royal LePage Performance Realty, and every week I bring you information on what's going on in the Ottawa real estate market. Okay, so first off, let's look at the citywide stats. We can see that the number of active listings is continuing to climb. This week it climbed by 41, and it was across all property types pretty evenly. Just of note, and you'll see it in the chart on the next slide, is that we've had an increase of 8.5% for the number of active listings over the last 4 weeks. So that's pretty significant. For sales were down slightly, maybe a little bit more than slightly this week. We're down to 169 sales across the different property types. That's down by 20 from last week. It was mostly in the detached market. The towns were up just slightly and the condos were down just slightly. Okay, so this is our inventory breakdown in a chart form. So we see the number of active listings has had a fairly significant climb over the last few weeks. Cresting over that 2,000 mark, getting a little closer to 2,100. The conditional sales and firm sales, that's the orange and the red lines down at the bottom. They've been slowly declining over the summer, and they're remaining quite steady, like the same kind of matching each other. So that's good. That just shows us that we're not having a lot of properties going conditional and then going back on the market. So the number of conditional properties are actually translating into sales for the most part. And we can see that the overall number it's sort of pretty steady this week to week. So we had some sales, the listings, but also probably a number of cancellations as people move into the fall and decide to take the properties off the market. Okay, so for the number of active listings this week, there were 334 properties that were listed this week, which is down fairly significantly from last week. Of the properties that were listed, 72% or 242 were new to the market properties, and 28% or 92 were relisted properties. The percentage for the relisted properties is a fair bit higher. As you can see, it climbed this week. I was expecting these drops in the number of listings more so next week as compared to this week, but then I was thinking on it a little bit more, and there's a good chunk of the population where the students are going back to school this week and not next week. So I bet you a lot of people decided to use their last week of vacation time to step away from the housing market for a bit. I do expect that next week the number of active listings will again decrease even further, and then hopefully we'll see a rebound after the long weekends. Of the homes that sold this week, 24% of them sold with no conditions, while 76% had had a conditional period. Of the properties that sold this week, only 18% were on the market for 7 or fewer days, and 57% of those homes sold with no conditions. The last week, to jump back to the conditions, no conditions, the last 4 weeks average is at 22% of selling with no conditions. And 60% of the homes that sold this week had sold within 30 days. That's down 5% from last week. I won't call it a trend until we actually see they're really continuing to drop, but I do expect that number to continue to drop as we have more houses on the market and homes taking longer to sell. Okay, let's zoom into the different regions of the city and see what's going on. For the central urban region, we see that the number of active listings is up across all property types, and we see the detached sales was down, townhomes was up slightly, and condo sales were steady. In Canada and Statesville, we see that the number of active listings is down slightly for detached and towns and up slightly for condos. Sales were also down slightly for detached and condos and up slightly for townhomes. In Barrhaven and Riverside South, we've got, again, the number of active listings dropping for detached and condos and up slightly for townhomes. And the exact same thing for the sold. We've got detached and condos, slightly lower sales, and townhomes up for sales. And in Orleans, we have a slight increase in the number of active listings across property types, just slightly, especially for the detached. And sales were down for detached and towns, quite significantly for the detached. And then condos had a slight increase for the number of sales. As always, I've got the full data in table form if you wish to look at those for the towns and also for the condominiums. Okay, so I know that was pretty quick. I do want to mention that I did look at all the different charts and such for the end of the month just to see where we were at. I figured that the number of active listings increasing is going to have a pretty significant effect on what we're going to see in those charts this next week when I include them all. The months of inventory I expect is going to climb, especially for the detached markets. And the sale prices, I do believe, I haven't specifically looked at those, but I do believe that the sale prices have dropped this month. So we're going to see a bit of a decline in the sale prices this month, I believe. And also we're going to have the average days to sell increasing. And all this, it's going to make it look like the market's really quite slowing down. And it was a fair bit slower throughout August. But next week, I'll have all those charts and the stuff to show everything visually. I hope you have a great week. Enjoy the last week of summer or the first week of school if your kids are back at school. And I'll see you next month.